What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful, delicious, smoky, hearty, amazing barbecue beef bourguignon. Coming up. This is some meat. Patted dry. And what I got here is some boneless short rib in this pile in the middle here, and on the ends we've got 2 Denver steaks. And boneless short ribs, you know very well, these are your beef ribs, your dino ribs, but just off the bone. And the Denver steak is a great cut from the shoulder. It comes from underneath the blade bone, and it's got some really nice marbling to it, really nice uniform shape. And the unique part about this cut is because it's from a really tender part of the shoulder, it works really well as a nice beefy steak, served up medium rare, but also it's great for braises because it is from the shoulder after all, much like the chuck. And we're making beef bourguignon today, so these cuts should work out perfectly. Any of these tough cuts do really well in low and slow, whether that's in dry heat, as in, Texas style barbecue, or in a wet heat like a braise. So I'm pretty interested to see how these come out because I've never cooked them past medium rare before. And if you've never seen a Denver steak before, I know a great place where you can get them. This video is brought to you by Porter Road. Porter Road is a butcher shop in Nashville, Tennessee that focuses on providing you with the best quality meat, whether it's beef, chicken, pork, or charcuterie, that is humanely raised, ethically treated, and hand butchered. Which means not only is the meat you're eating from happy animals that are treated well, but also it's of the highest quality and treated with respect all the way through. And if you're in Nashville, you can easily go to their butcher shop, but if you're anywhere else, they have an amazing online store where you can get meat shipped right to your door. And because they focus on whole carcass butchery, you can get all the regular cuts like steaks, ribeyes, pork chops, all that kind of stuff, but also a lot of the offcuts that you're not going to see, like the Denver steak, hanger steak, pig wings, pork cheeks, and all sorts of great stuff. And I'll have a link in the description box of this video showing you all of my favorite cuts from Porter Road as well. As I mentioned, the quality of the meat really does speak for itself. The packaging is always pristine, the butchery is amazing, everything is always super clean, no scraggly bits hanging off, fat caps are always taken down to the perfect level, and you can tell that they really know what they're doing and care about what they're doing. And if you've never bought meat online before, I highly recommend it. It's just like going to the butcher shop where you can pick and choose whatever individual cuts you like. They're constantly updating with whatever they have in stock. And I've never had a problem with broken cryovacs or broken boxes or meat showing up warm or anything like that. They really do a great job. Not to mention, all their beef is dry aged, giving it a super beefy flavor, as well as a little bit of that dry aged funky flavor, but they don't take it too far. And everything I've cooked from them has always come out tasting absolutely fantastic. So if you're in the market to get some high quality meat shipped right to your door, head to porterroad.com, where using my link you can save 15% off your order. Again, I'll have a link in the description box of this video taking you to porterroad.com, where you can save 15% off your first order. Thank you, Porter Road. So as I mentioned, we're making beef bourguignon today, which is essentially a very fancy beef stew. So the first thing we need to do is cut these pieces up into some chunks of bite-sized meat. You can really make these as big or as small as you like, bearing in mind that they are going to shrink up a little bit, but some chunks like that I think should work out perfectly. As for these short ribs, if you want to take down some of this fat, you absolutely can. I'm going to go ahead and trim the silver skin off the underside of these, and if there's ever any excess fat like that, I'll probably take that off as well, but I'm going to leave the fat cap on whenever I can, because we're going to smoke these and then they're going to braise down, so I think having some chunks of some fat on there is going to be really tasty. And of course, because this is a barbecue channel, I'm not really following any traditional way to make beef bourguignon, but I came about this idea because I was thinking about a burnt-end stew or a burnt-end soup. So that's a process we're going to do today. Must say, I'm loving the looks of these Denvers. Great marbling in there, and especially during these cold months. I think this is going to come out tasting great. Let's get these seasoned up. For our seasoning today, I'm going to keep it real simple like I typically do with beef, starting with 2 parts 16 mesh black pepper, on sale now at shopchuds.com, followed by 1 part diamond crystal kosher salt, and 1/2 part granulated garlic. And just get that all nice and mixed up. And simply enough, on we go. Nice heavy coating. Folks, you know the drill. Just gonna roll them around, make sure we get a nice even coating of black pepper and all this other good stuff on these little chunkies. Just like making beef burn ends, you know what I mean? And the best part about this method is we know we're not gonna forget any of the sides, because that would be a rookie move. But that is looking pretty much perfect to me. Let's fire up the pit. If I had any more sense, I'd just go ahead and make a boot snake bourguignon. And on the pit we go. Boop. Here. Just gonna spread these out, make sure none of them are overlapping or touching each other too much. That's just to try and get some nice even bark going. If I see any of these fattier pieces, I'll probably put them up front. But other than that, really not much to it, folks. Some of these smaller pieces I'm gonna plump up a little bit, try and maintain some nice shape. But we're gonna basically cook these the same way we would a beef cheek down at Leroy and Lewis. I'm gonna smoke these for probably 3-4 hours, try and get some nice bark on there. Not looking for an internal temp, not looking for tenderness, just a nice crust. So, I'm gonna be cooking around 275. We'll check back in a little bit. And just like that, about 3 hours later, maybe 4. To be honest, I lost track of time. These things are looking absolutely beautiful. Nice and barky. Still pretty tough, which is the way we want it. We don't want to cook these too far. Looking good to me. And to finish these off, we're going to pop them into a sous vide overnight to make sure they get nice and impossibly tender with as little work as possible. Into the bag we go. And to ensure that everything is nice and juicy, we're gonna throw a couple dollops of some Wagyu beef tallow in there. Boop! Get a little sous vide confit situation going on. Sounds good to me. And we vac seal. Ooh, rise. Beautiful, looking good. Yep. I got this water bath set to 175 degrees, and these things are gonna go all night long. So I'll check back in with y'all tomorrow. Gotta love Porter Road bacon. Next up, we're gonna fire off some of these pearl onions. Unfortunately, these are the frozen kind. At the same time, I'm really glad I didn't have to peel all these tiny onions, but I couldn't find any of the fresh ones. So we're gonna let these soften up and caramelize for just a little bit in all this beautiful bacon grease. Beautiful. Next up, going in with our carrots. Just gonna get these softened up. Looking good. And right at the end, we're gonna go in with some chopped up garlic as well. And just toast that off for a few minutes. Beautiful. And lastly, we're gonna deglaze this pan with a little bit of red wine. Pinot Noir is classic, and if you wanna be real super traditional, you gotta use something made in Burgundy, France. So that one seemed appropriate. Ooh. Again, just trying to get up any fond on the bottom here. Clean this pan out a little bit. And then we're gonna switch out our pot to something a little bit deeper. And you could definitely do all the veggie cooking I just did in this pot to begin with, but it's a little easier to film that shallower pan, and also it's kind of nice to be able to move things around. But I do now have one more dish to clean. Whole bottle in. We're just gonna bring this to a boil. Cool. And we're gonna let this reduce down, cooking off all the alcohol and really condensing all that flavor. And I'm gonna let this cook down for quite a bit, really reduce down a lot. And that's because at the end of the day in this sauce we're making, if it needs more wine flavor, I can always crack another bottle. But if there's too much after we add the beef stock in here, it's gonna be tough to balance the flavors. And there we go, nice and syrupy, reduced down quite a bit. So now we're gonna go in with some of these. These are the demi-glace cubes I made in that beef Wellington video a little while ago. And these are just packed with flavor. If you haven't seen that video, it's basically a really flavorful beef and chicken stock that has a bunch of veg and other stuff in there that has then been reduced. So these 5 little cubes are gonna add a whole bunch of nice beefy flavor. But to add even more beefy flavor and some volume, we're also gonna go in with some Porter Road bone broth. You could skip the demi-glace cubes if you don't have them and just use this beef stock, let it reduce down a little bit, concentrate all that really nice flavor, and let that all come together. Sorry for the lighting change, folks, but some things came up last night and I just ended up popping all this stuff in the fridge, which is the beauty of this recipe. You can really do all of it ahead of time. Makes for a real quick weeknight meal, but I brought all this sauce back up to a boil. I'm gonna let that beef stock reduce down for just a little bit, let this thicken up a little bit, and then we'll start throwing in all of our veg. Looking good to me. Definitely thickened up a little bit, and this is gonna continue to cook down for a little bit longer. I'm hoping that there's enough gelatin in this stock to make it nice and lip smacking and the thickness we want it to be. But if not, we can always go in with a roux or a cornstarch slurry or something like that. But for starters, in we go with all of our veg. Every time. Mushrooms and garlic, our roasted carrots, pearl onions, can't forget our bacon. And again, everything in here is already cooked, so we're really just trying to warm things through, let them soften up a little bit more, and let all the flavors kind of meld together. I'm also going to go in with a big fat pinch of some dry thyme. I was going to use some fresh stuff during the wine reduction, but believe it or not, my grocery store was out, so dried thyme it is. And I'm not going to add any salt because there's a lot of bacon in there, and also our beef that's about to go in. So I'm going to wait till everything's come together, and then we'll taste it for seasoning at the end. But one other thing I did last night is I cook some potatoes. These are just some little baby yellow potatoes that I simply just boiled in some salted water. You could throw them into the stew right now raw and let them cook that way, but again, the reason I like to cook everything separately is to just have complete control over each individual element to make sure nothing overcooks. But I'm gonna throw these in to warm these up as well. After letting this bubble away for about 10-15 minutes or so, it's finally time to go in with our meat. Stuff is looking real good. And again, it's already warm because I threw it back in the sous vide. But nice and barky, nice and tender feeling. Spilled a bunch of fat everywhere. But yeah, this stuff is looking great. Nice and shreddy. Whew, perfect. Still holds together though. It's got that nice bite through texture. So, in we go. I think I made too much beef. Not a problem in my book. So I ended up throwing in about a cup or two of water just to add some more liquid because I apparently put way too much garnish into this stuff. But you know, I already cooked it, so it's going in there. But yep, this is looking pretty much good to me. I think it's time to plate up. Now, there's probably a much prettier way to go about plating this, but you know, this is a beef stew after all, so it's just gonna be a big old pile, and I'm gonna top it with some of this lovely sauce, nice and thick. Oh God, it smells so good. And of course, I tasted it and adjusted it for salt. And really, this would probably make more sense in a bowl, but this will make for a better picture. Just gonna fill up the basin here. Oh, that's beautiful stuff. Just look at the shine on that sauce. Oh, so rich. I think some baguette slices will be a lovely addition here as well. Gotta have some to soak up all these juices. And lastly, for a little garnish, we're gonna top it with some of our chopped parsley. Probably the one thing that's not gonna benefit from me prepping ahead of time, but it's the way she goes sometimes, folks. I mean, what's not to like about this plate, folks? We got beef, we got veggies. It's beautiful, it's gelatinous, it's smoky. It's pretty much anything you'd ever want on a cold day. I gotta dive in. I must say, I was worried all day about how this would end up looking, but that's a pile of food I would tackle any day of the week. Let's go for it. We're busting out a fork yet again. Start out with a carrot. Just look at that sauce. Oh God, love it. Oh wow. Oh, that is so good. The wine, the beef stock, the consistency of this sauce is just, oh, it's so perfect. Everything is nice and tender, nice and warm through. Oh, hot. That is phenomenal. You know, if you're gonna have to eat your veggies, you might as well cover them with a demi-glace wine-reduced, smoky, meaty sauce. Am I right, folks? Well, let's dive into some of this meat. Just falls apart. Wow. That is phenomenal. Very smoky, very burnt end-like, obviously. Seasoning is perfect. That sauce, just adding that glazy coat to the outside. I'm gonna eat a lot of this. Again, everything is cooked perfectly. These onions, perfect bite to them. Oh look, got some bacon on this one. Very good stuff. Nothing wrong with that, folks. Dip that in that gravy. Oh yeah. I will definitely be making this again. Tell you what, get a little bit of that soaked bread. This one definitely turned out better than I was expecting. Big pile of this stuff on a nice cold day. Warms your heart. I'm just gonna keep eating it. If you're curious about what I really think about this recipe, there's your answer. But without further ado, I think it's time for the official taste test. Just a nice big piece of beef. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is going to make an absolutely fantastic smoky boeuf bourguignon, which definitely has a better ring to it than burn-end stew. But regardless of what you call it, I highly recommend making this very soon. And that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!